Quick video today on two plugins by Baby Audio. I've never done any reviews or videos on Baby Audio stuff, but I've always been quite intrigued by them. I saw a great video by Sanjay C where he talks about the smooth operator, and that plugin looks really great for vocals, so definitely check out that video. But in this video, I just want to do a quick overview of the reverb, Crystalline, and this tape effect, which is a plugin that's supposed to add some of that tape saturation that we're all missing from our digital music, supposedly. So the sale is on right now, and it's only for a few more days, so it's a good time to pick it up if you've been thinking about it. But you always want to make sure if these things are right for you, so hopefully this video helps you get a little insight into what these plugins are all about. I'll put some links in the description. So I've got a little project here with a bunch of different instruments, and we'll try out some of these effects on the different instruments. But the first thing I would do in terms of the reverb is set up a reverb as a send effect. I've got lots of videos on that, one for Cubase, one for Machine. Make sure you check those out if you're not really familiar with what a send effect is. But we want to put a send effect on our whole project so that we can send a portion of each track to that reverb device and kind of unify our song. You don't always have to do that. You could put reverb differently on every track if you want to. But this is kind of a traditional way of working, and it's kind of like putting all of your instruments in the same space. I would go up to the project, I go add track, and I go to effect. And then here I can go to Baby Audio and choose Crystalline. Let's call it BB Chris. And now when I go to my mixer, we can now see that every channel has the option of outputting audio to the BB Chris send effect. So I click on that one right there, and now I'm sending a portion of this track to this one effect. So one thing I recommend you do is click on every track. So shift click on the first and last tracks, and then we're going to quick link all of these tracks, and we're going to output all of them to that send effect at the same time, and then maybe turn them down something like this. And then now we can go in and tweak each track individually, but it's already set up, it's already there with a little bit of reverb on it. All right, so let's have a listen to this piano. You can hear we've got some reverb going on already. So when you're using it as a send effect, you want to make sure that the output is set to 100% wet. And one thing I love already about Crystalline is if you put it on individual tracks as inserts, you can set your dry or wet amount, and then you can lock that in. So as you change the presets, it's not going to change that amount, which is great. We're going to put that in there at full wet and lock it off. So now it's up to my send effect level, which is right over here, which will determine how much of this piano gets sent to Crystalline. So this is an algorithmic reverb, so it's not a convolution reverb. There aren't any sampled spaces in here. It's using science to make the reverb. So let's try a basic hall. So one of the things I loved seeing right off the bat is that it's got a ducker. And I probably wouldn't use that on a send effect because there's so much stuff that's going to be fed into this. But this ducker allows you to say if there's a snare hit that you've got reverb on, you can dim the reverb or duck the reverb just at the moment of the snare sound itself and then open back up to let the reverb tail continue. So it's kind of a really neat idea because your reverb can get kind of messy, especially with the stuff that maybe was right before it. So it's going to duck that reverb level and let the snare sound or whatever instrument it is cut through, and then the reverb will take over. Some of the basic things you can do here is you can change your start, and that's going to be your pre-delay. So it's like, does it start right away, or does the reverb wait a fraction of a second and then kick in? All right, so we can actually set that pre-delay to sync to the tempo of your song. So you could have it have this kind of thing happening, this rhythmic thing happening with your reverb, which I never really thought about doing. I guess we could do that with other reverbs in some ways, but they've made it really easy for you here to determine how quickly it starts and how quickly it ends, and you can sync that as well. We've got things like the reverb size right here. Large. Sounds really nice. And then we've got things like sparkle. Gonna add some high frequency. Width, so it can go stereo or mono. Then we've got damping, where we can muffle the sound of the reverb. A gate that will cut off the reverb at a certain time. That was used in Phil Collins' famous snare drum gated reverb, and it's basically like you have a reverb and then it cuts off. We can choose with the sides to have our mix be a little bit tighter in the middle and then let things go more stereo as they get higher in the higher frequencies. And then we can change things like the tone of the reverb and then a transient exaggerator, which is really cool. And then we drag it down. You can really hear that attack of the note coming through. And here it's like kind of easing into the reverb. And then we've got some other things like modulation, which will make the pitch warble afterwards. And then we can make things a little more lo-fi right here. Here we've got sparkle, which kind of makes things brighter, and tone, which makes things brighter. But with this shimmer, what you can do is you can say, I just want the high frequencies to actually echo longer than the other frequencies. So you can see how a plugin like this has some very specific sound design capabilities that other reverbs don't, because the truth is we all have reverbs built into our DAWs, you know? Even GarageBand probably has decent reverbs built into it. I don't actually know that, but do we need another reverb? Well, if you're really into sound design and you want some of the characteristics that this thing affords, and I look online and people love this reverb, so it kind of sells itself, but these are the things that make it kind of special or specific. Got some strings that come in. Let's see how that sounds. We'll go to the viola. See, our piano's got that much on, so we'll go to our viola, our cello, and our violin. Next, let's look at this guitar and see if we can put an individual reverb on that one by itself as an insert effect. So we're going to go to Crystalline. Let's try some of these guitar ones. Sounds really nice and dry. We'll turn on the reverb now, and let's play around with this a bit. So I'm going to take my dry wet and just turn that down, and we're going to lock it somewhere down there because we don't want it full wet when it's an insert effect. Let's try syncing this. We'll set it to sync to, let's try eighth notes. You know, that would be a really neat effect on synthesizers and stuff like that as well. And then maybe you have that one on as one reverb, but you're still sending a portion of it to that main reverb that we've got, which is our send effect. So let's go back to our sends and turn up how much of the regular guitar we're just sending to that other reverb. I'd probably put a little bit of reverb on this Super 8 bass that I've got here because it just sounds so dry. Let's have a listen to that one. And you can hear if I press stop that the low frequencies aren't getting fed through that quite as much. This is our main one for our song. And if I want to remove some of the low frequencies that are getting sent to this reverb, change this damping. Let's go a filter, a high pass filter that goes way up, and just listen. Now we can hear only high frequencies. If I go all the way down, drag this one up. Now we're only hearing the low frequencies come through. So we'll probably crank this up to here so that we're getting lots of high frequencies, but not as much of the low frequencies. We'll probably go, let's even look at what frequency we're dealing with here in this bass. So somewhere around 85, 86 hertz is our F. If we want to get rid of that fundamental, we need to make sure this filter goes a little higher than that. So let's have a listen to this. And even higher. Now we're not touching the low frequencies of the bass, but we are putting some of the fizzier sort of buzzy sounds of the bass through the reverb. So, and that's not going to make a mess of our song. I think the next thing we should quickly look at is this Taip plugin. So one of the first things you can use the Taip plugin for is as kind of a mastering plugin. So I'm going to go to the master output of this song, and we're going to listen to the chorus here. And we're going to use that to process the entire mix. Sometimes if I'm mastering, I would do that in a totally separate project, but we'll just try it out here for fun. I'm going to go to Taip. Let's try this 2-bus magnetic energy. You can see as I crank up the output, it's not letting it go over 0. So it's still capping it at 0 decibels. It sounds really good. It does sound really good. So it'd be fun to compare these to other plugins like maximizers and brick wall limiters and see how they compare. But it is sounding really good to me. So we've got some things like high shape and low shape. So it's more like a bit of an EQ down here. And I remember on the tutorial, Dachi Pucci said the presence is kind of this knob that they would add high frequencies into analog tape when things were getting a little too warm, a little too muffled sounding. So yeah, we can play around with that a little bit. So we've got other things on here like noise, wear, and glue. I'm pretty sure this glue is going to be kind of like compression. And then we've got noise and wear, which is going to add some dirt to your mix. Luckily, this one is only going to be adding the noise when you have your sound in there. So if we put this on like a kick drum or something, it would only be on the kick when it's happening, which is exactly what I would want, or exactly the way I would like it. Let's go look at the piano for a second, and then we'll try putting a little bit of tape on there and see if we can kind of get a bit of a lo-fi sound. Okay, I think the wear is giving us that pitch warble. Let's see. Let's try another preset out. Lo-fi piano now. Get some interesting results out of this one for sure. Let's go try it on the drums and just see what we get. Let's try lo-fi beats on tape. Here we go. Getting some really cool stuff out of this plugin. It's kind of fun to take regular sounding drums and then do your own processing to them and make your own kits that way. So I think so the person who's going to really love the software is the person who loves that kind of sound design and getting their hands dirty and making their own sounds. So there you go, scratching the surface of 2 baby audio plugins. I'm impressed with what I'm hearing so far. I can see why people are excited about them. If this is something that you're going to dig, hopefully this video helped you make that decision. And if you're new here, hit the subscribe button and the bell, and we'll see you in the next video.